excitement mirroring that of the team. Mark strummed the opening chords of an original composition, the notes filling the studio, and for a moment, time stood still. The writer, his fingers dancing across the keyboard, realized that this was more than just a podcast episode. It was a testament to human creativity, to the power of collaboration, and to the magic that happens when people come together for a shared purpose. And so, under the dim studio lights, amidst the chaos of live comments and the strumming of a guitar, the world of Jobin went live, marking the beginning of a new chapter in their extraordinary journey. The studio was still buzzing, even though the live episode had ended an hour ago. The team was in a state of euphoria, the adrenaline still coursing through their veins. J.J. Berman was pacing around the room, phone in hand, scrolling through the flood of comments and reviews. "Guys, we've hit the jackpot. The episode is trending, and the feedback is phenomenal." Sarah looked up from her laptop, her eyes red but sparkling. "We've also gained a ton of new subscribers. The analytics are off the charts." Mark, still holding his guitar, was in a corner talking to fans via a live Instagram feed. "You guys are awesome. Stay tuned for more music in the upcoming episodes." The writer, who had been furiously typing away, finally closed his laptop. He had captured the essence of the night, the raw energy, the chaos, and the triumph. Yet, he hesitated to hit the upload button. It was as if he was holding onto a piece of history, reluctant to share it with the world. JJ noticed the writer's hesitation and walked over. "Something on your mind?" The writer looked up. "It's strange. I've documented every moment, every emotion, but I'm hesitant to let it go." JJ smiled. "That's the beauty and the curse of being a creator. But remember, our work isn't complete until it's shared with the world. That's when it truly comes alive." Nodding, the writer finally hit upload, and as if on cue, the room erupted into cheers. They had done it, they had successfully pulled off a live episode, and the world had taken notice. As the team started to wind down, JJ gathered everyone for a toast. "Tonight, we celebrate not just our success but also the journey that got us here. To the world of Jobin and to endless possibilities." Glasses clinked, and laughter filled the room. Yet, amidst the celebration, everyone knew that this was just the beginning. There were more episodes to create, more stories to tell, and more lives to touch. The writer opened a new document, his fingers hovering over the keyboard. The next chapter was yet to be written, and he couldn't wait to see where the story would take them next. And so, in a small studio filled with big dreams, the world of Jobin prepared for its next adventure, each member of the team aware that they were part of something much larger than themselves. Chapter 116, The Unpredictable Algorithm, Part 10. The studio was a sanctuary, a temple of creativity where the team of the World of Jobin podcast gathered to make magic. J.J. Berman, the maestro of this orchestrated chaos, sat in his leather chair, staring at the screen filled with analytics and numbers. The recent episode had done well, but in the world of digital media, you're only as good as your last upload. "Damn algorithms," JJ muttered, scratching his beard. "One day you're a hero, the next you're lost in the abyss of the internet." Sarah, the show's producer, walked in holding a tray of freshly brewed coffee. "You're overthinking it, JJ. We're doing great. The fans love us." JJ sighed. I know. But staying relevant is a constant battle, Sarah. We need something fresh, something that'll break the internet." Just then, Mark burst into the room, his face flushed with excitement. "Guys, you won't believe what just happened. I got a DM from Dave Grohl. He loves the show and wants to be a guest." The room erupted. Dave Grohl, the legendary musician, was a fan of their podcast. This was big. The writer, who had been quietly observing from a corner, felt a surge of inspiration. His fingers itched to capture this moment, but he hesitated. The weight of capturing reality in words was a burden he often struggled with. JJ noticed the writer's internal battle and walked over. "You good?" The writer nodded, "Yeah, just contemplating the absurdity and beauty of life, you know." JJ chuckled, "Well, when you put it that way, it sounds like an episode in itself." As the team began to brainstorm ideas for the upcoming episode with Dave Grohl, the writer finally broke his self-imposed exile from the keyboard. He began to type, each word a tribute to the unpredictable journey they were all on. The room was filled with a sense of urgency, a collective understanding that they were on the brink of something monumental. Plans were made, roles were assigned, and as they wrapped up the meeting, JJ raised his coffee mug. "To the unpredictable algorithm of life and to the world of Jobin. May we continue to ride the wave, wherever it takes us." The team echoed the sentiment, their faces glowing with anticipation and excitement. The writer hit save on his document but decided not to upload it just yet. Some moments were worth savoring a little longer. And so, in a nondescript studio that had become a universe of its own, the team prepared for what promised to be a groundbreaking episode. The stakes were high, but so were their spirits. After all, in the world of Jobin, anything was possible. Chapter 116, The Unpredictable Algorithm, Part 10. The studio was a sanctuary, a temple of creativity where the team of the World of Jobin podcast gathered to make magic. J.J. Berman, the maestro of this orchestrated chaos, sat in his leather chair, staring at the screen filled with analytics and numbers. The recent episode had done well, but in the world of digital media, you're only as good as your last upload. "Damn algorithms," JJ muttered, scratching his beard. "One day you're a hero, the next you're lost in the abyss of the internet." Sarah, the show's producer, walked in holding a tray of freshly brewed coffee. "You're overthinking it, JJ. We're doing great. The fans love us." JJ sighed, I know. But staying relevant is a constant battle, Sarah. We need something fresh, something that'll break the internet." Just then, Mark burst into the room, his face flushed with excitement. "Guys, you won't believe what just happened. I got a DM from Dave Grohl. He loves the show and wants to be a guest." The room erupted. Dave Grohl, the legendary musician, was a fan of their podcast. This was big. The writer, who had been quietly observing from a corner, felt a surge of inspiration. His fingers itched to capture this moment, but he hesitated. The weight of capturing reality in words was a burden he often struggled with. JJ noticed the writer's internal battle and walked over. "You good?" The writer nodded, "Yeah, just contemplating the absurdity and beauty of life, you know." JJ chuckled, "Well, when you put it that way, it sounds like an episode in itself." As the team began to brainstorm ideas for the upcoming episode with Dave Grohl, the writer finally broke his self-imposed exile from the keyboard. He began to type, each word a tribute to the unpredictable journey they were all on. The room was filled with a sense of urgency, a collective understanding that they were on the brink of something monumental. Plans were made, roles were assigned, and as they wrapped up the meeting, JJ raised his coffee mug. "To the unpredictable algorithm of life and to the world of Jobin. May we continue to ride the wave, wherever it takes us." The team echoed the sentiment, their faces glowing with anticipation and excitement. The writer hit save on his document but decided not to upload it just yet. Some moments were worth savoring a little longer. And so, in a nondescript studio that had become a universe of its own, the team prepared for what promised to be a groundbreaking episode. The stakes were high, but so were their spirits. After all, in the world of Jobin, anything was possible. Chapter 117, The Symphony of Chaos, Part 11. J.J. Behrman's studio was buzzing like a beehive on steroids. The team had just wrapped up a brainstorming session for the upcoming episode with Dave Grohl, and the energy was electric. The writer, still hesitant to upload his latest work, sat in a corner, observing the whirlwind of activity around him. "All right, people, we've got less than 48 hours to make this the best damn episode we've ever done," JJ announced, pacing around the room like a general rallying his troops. "Sarah, how are we on the tech side?" Sarah looked up from her laptop. "Everything's set. We've done a test run, and the audio is crystal clear." "Excellent." "Mark, social media." Mark grinned. "We've got a teaser ready to drop, and the fans are already speculating." "The hype is real, JJ." JJ nodded, satisfied. "Good. Now, let's talk content. We've got Dave Grohl, for God's sake. This has to be epic." As they dived into the intricacies of the episode, the writer felt a strange sense of detachment. He was part of this world, yet not entirely. His role was to document, to capture the essence of the world of Jobin, but the task felt increasingly monumental. JJ noticed the writer's distant gaze and walked over. "Hey, you're awfully quiet. What's on your mind?" The writer looked up, just pondering the madness of it all. "We're here, creating something out of nothing, and the world outside continues to spin in its own chaotic way." JJ chuckled. "Ah, the existential dilemma. Well, my friend, that's the beauty of what we do. In this studio, we're gods, shaping our own universe. And out there," he gestured towards the window, "we're just specks of dust in an endless cosmos." The writer smiled. "That's poetic, JJ." "Poetry is just another form of chaos, tamed," JJ replied, winking. As the team resumed their discussion, the writer felt a newfound sense of clarity. He opened his laptop and began to type, the words flowing like a river breaking free from its dam. This was their story, a symphony of chaos and creativity, and it was his job to conduct it. JJ raised his glass of bourbon, a ritual before every major episode. To chaos, to creativity, and to the world of Jobin. May we continue to defy the odds. The team cheered, their glasses clinking in a harmonious cacophony. The writer hit save but still refrained from uploading. Some stories were too precious to release into the wild just yet. And so, in a studio that had become a microcosm of life itself, the team prepared for an episode that promised to be nothing short of legendary. The countdown had begun, and in the world of Jobin, the only certainty was the thrill of the unknown. Chapter 118, The Clock Strikes Midnight, Part 12. The studio was a sanctuary, a cathedral of sound and ideas where J.J. Berman and his team crafted episodes that resonated with souls across the globe. But tonight, the atmosphere was different. The clock was ticking closer to midnight, and the room was thick with tension and cigarette smoke. JJ sat at the mixing desk, headphones on, lost in the labyrinth of audio tracks. Sarah was hunched over her laptop, eyes bloodshot but determined. Mark was pacing, phone in hand, as if waiting for a sign from the heavens. The writer, still reluctant to upload his latest chapters, observed this tableau of human drama. He felt like a voyeur, peering into the lives of characters he had come to love and loathe in equal measure. "All right, listen up," JJ finally broke the silence, removing his headphones. "We're cutting it close, but we've got something special here. Sarah, are we good to go live?" Sarah looked up, her eyes meeting J.J.'s. "We're as ready as we'll ever be." "Mark, drop the teaser. Let's give them a taste of what's coming." Mark's fingers danced across his phone screen, and within seconds, social media was ablaze with anticipation. Teasers live. The internet's losing its mind, JJ. JJ grinned, perfect. Now, let's make some podcast history. As the team huddled around the mixing desk, the writer felt a surge of inspiration. He opened his laptop and began to type, each keystroke echoing the heartbeat of the room. This was it, the climax of their collective journey, a moment that would be etched in the annals of the world of Jobin. Going live in 3, 2, 1. Sarah counted down, and with a click, they were on air. J.J.'s voice filled the room. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special episode of the world of Jobin. Tonight, we've got something that will blow your minds. As JJ delved into the episode, the writer hit save on his document. He still couldn't bring himself to upload it. The story was too raw, too real. It needed to marinate in its own complexity before being served to the world. The episode unfolded like a symphony, each segment a movement, each interview a solo. And when it was over, the room erupted in cheers and sighs of relief. JJ raised his glass, to the world of Jobin, the little podcast that could. And to all of us, the misfits who made it happen. Glasses clinked, and for a moment, the writer felt a sense of completion. But as he looked around the room, at the faces flushed with triumph and exhaustion, he knew that this was merely an interlude. The show must go on, and so it would. Chapter 119, The Aftermath and the New Dawn, Part 13. The studio was still buzzing, even after the mics were off and the episode had been sent into the digital ether. J.J. Berman, the maestro of this orchestrated chaos, was leaning back in his chair, a satisfied grin on his face. Sarah was already editing snippets for the next day's social media blitz, and Mark was fielding calls from sponsors who were thrilled with the live episode's numbers. The writer, still a silent observer in this whirlwind, finally closed his laptop. He had written another chapter but hadn't uploaded it. The cursor blinked on the upload button, almost taunting him. He took a deep breath and minimized the window. Not yet, he thought. Not yet. Hey, writer, JJ called out, you look like you've just solved the meaning of life or something. What's cooking? The writer chuckled, just contemplating the complexities of storytelling, JJ. You know how it is. JJ nodded, the eternal struggle. Well, if you figure it out, let me know. I could use a good story. Sarah piped in, couldn't we all? But for now, how about we celebrate this one? I've got a bottle of bourbon stashed away for special occasions. Mark grinned, special occasions. This is a damn milestone. Sarah fetched the bottle and poured everyone a glass. They raised their drinks, and JJ offered a toast, to stories told and untold. To the world of Jobin. They clinked glasses and took a sip. The bourbon was smooth, warming them from the inside out, like the satisfaction of a job well done. The writer looked around the room. These were his characters, flawed but authentic, each a universe unto themselves. And as they laughed and talked, he realized that their story was far from over. It was a living, breathing entity, evolving with each episode, each crisis, each triumph. His phone buzzed. It was a notification from his writing platform. Your readers are waiting for an update, it said. He looked at his laptop, then back at his friends. He was a part of this world, and yet, he was also its chronicler. It was a delicate balance, one he was still learning to navigate. As the night wore on, they eventually called it a wrap. Hugs were exchanged, and promises to do it all again soon filled the air. The writer packed up his laptop and headed for the door. Hey, JJ called out, you coming back tomorrow? We've got another episode to plan. The writer smiled, wouldn't miss it for the world, JJ. And as he stepped out into the night, the weight of untold stories resting on his shoulders, he knew that the show must go on. And so it would. Chapter 123, The Illusion of Control, Part 17. J.J. Berman sat back in his leather chair, the kind that squeaks when you move just an inch. The studio was buzzing with a kind of electric energy, the kind you can't manufacture. It was real, raw, and it was all because they had just hit a milestone. 10,000 subscribers, JJ mused, that's not just a number, it's a statement. Sarah, ever the pragmatist, interjected, it's a great number, but we've got sponsors breathing down our necks for the next episode. We need to keep the quality up. JJ nodded, absolutely, quality over quantity, always. Mark, who had been fiddling with a new piece of audio equipment, looked up, quality is great, but let's not forget the quantity part. 2 episodes a day, remember? JJ grinned, how could I forget? It's the rhythm of my life now. The writer, still in his corner, was caught in a web of procrastination. He had started a new chapter but found himself stuck in a loop of rewrites. The words were there, but they weren't flowing. JJ noticed the writer's struggle and walked over, you know, perfection is the enemy of done. The writer looked up, I know. It's just hard to let go sometimes. JJ leaned against the desk, letting go is an illusion. We never really have control, we just think we do. The story writes itself, we're just the medium. Inspired, the writer took a deep breath and let his fingers dance over the keyboard. The words started to flow, and before he knew it, he had a paragraph, then a page, and then a whole chapter. As he hit upload, he felt a weight lift off his shoulders. It was done, and it was out there, for better or worse. Just then, Sarah burst into the room, guys, you won't believe this. We got a message from the Quantum Mind author. He wants to do a live episode. The room erupted into cheers. Mark popped open another bottle of champagne, and JJ raised his glass. To the unpredictable journey of life and podcasting. They all toasted, and as the champagne flowed, they all knew that they were part of something bigger than themselves. It was chaotic, it was stressful, but it was incredibly rewarding. And so, in that little studio, amidst the wires, screens, and endless cups of coffee, they found their purpose, their rhythm, and their voice. The show must go on. And so it did. Check, 1, 2, Mark muttered into the microphone, adjusting the levels on the mixing board. We're good to go. Sarah was on her laptop, scrolling through a list of questions submitted by their ever-growing fan base. We've got some really deep questions here, JJ. This is going to be a mind-bender of an episode. JJ grinned, that's what the world of Jobin is all about, isn't it? Pushing boundaries, questioning reality. In the corner, the writer was in a trance-like state, fingers flying over the keyboard. The words were pouring out of him like water from a broken dam. He had found his flow, and he was riding it for all it was worth. JJ noticed and couldn't help but smile. Looks like someone broke through the writer's block. The writer paused, looked up, and nodded. It's like you said, JJ, we're just the medium. Sometimes you've got to get out of your own way and let the story tell itself. Just then, the door swung open, and a delivery guy walked in holding a large bouquet of flowers. Delivery for the world of Jobin. Sarah jumped up, oh, those must be from the sponsor. Put them over there, please. As the delivery guy set down the flowers, he pulled out a small card and handed it to JJ. It read, congratulations on 10,000 subscribers. Here's to many more. Your friends at Mindful Tech. JJ held up the card. A toast, to Mindful Tech, to the Quantum Mind, and to all of us. We're making waves, my friends, and the best is yet to come. Glasses clinked, and for a moment, the chaos subsided. It was a brief respite, a fleeting moment of order in a world that defied categorization. As they all took their seats, ready to dive into the live episode, JJ took a deep breath. All right, let's do this. In 3, 2, 1. And just like that, they were live, broadcasting their unique blend of chaos and order to the world. It was a dance, a delicate balance, and they were all in it together. Chapter 125, The Echo Chamber of Reality, Part 19. The studio lights dimmed as the live episode concluded, the applause track fading into the digital ether. J.J. Berman leaned back in his chair, a satisfied grin stretching across his face. Well, that was a trip and a half, wasn't it? Sarah, still buzzing from the adrenaline, nodded. I can't believe Dr. Thompson agreed to come on the show. That was surreal. Mark, ever the technician, was already busy saving the recording and preparing for the next episode. We've got another one to record in an hour, folks. No rest for the wicked. JJ chuckled, the relentless grind of the world of Jobin. 2 episodes a day keeps the existential dread at bay. In the corner, the writer was in a world of his own, lost in the labyrinth of his imagination. The words were coming slower now, each sentence a struggle. The flow had ebbed, leaving him stranded on the shores of creativity. JJ noticed the writer's struggle and walked over. Hey, you all right? You look like you're wrestling with a demon. The writer sighed, it's like I've hit a wall. The words just aren't coming. JJ leaned against the desk. You know, Bukowski once said, writing about a writer's block is better than not writing at all. Maybe you need to write about the struggle, make it a part of the story. The writer looked up, eyes widening. That's, actually a brilliant idea. Just then, Sarah's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen and gasped. Guys, you won't believe this. We just hit 20,000 subscribers. The room erupted in cheers, the tension shattered by the good news. Mark popped open a bottle of champagne, and the bubbly liquid sprayed across the room, christening the studio in a shower of celebration. As they toasted to their success, JJ felt a sense of completeness, a fleeting moment of unity in a world fragmented by chaos. It was as if the universe had conspired to bring them to this point, a cosmic alignment of fate and free will. And so, amid the clinking of glasses and the laughter of friends, the world of Jobin continued its dance along the razor's edge of reality, a chaotic ballet of sound and silence, order and entropy. Chapter 126, The Fringe of Reality, Part 20. The champagne had barely dried on the studio floor when J.J. Berman sat back down at his desk, headphones on, microphone adjusted. The clock was ticking, and the second episode of the day was looming like a dark cloud on the horizon. All right, team, let's get this show on the road, JJ announced, his voice tinged with a mix of excitement and fatigue. We've got a mystery guest for this episode, and I want to keep the energy high. Sarah, still riding the high of their subscriber milestone, was already at her station, scrolling through the list of questions submitted by their ever-growing fan base. We've got some really interesting topics today, JJ. The audience is curious about the Bermuda Triangle, quantum mechanics, and even the existence of parallel universes. Mark, the technician, was busy calibrating the soundboard. Audio levels are good. We're ready to roll whenever you are. In the corner, the writer was hunched over his laptop, fingers dancing across the keyboard. The words were flowing again, each sentence a stepping stone across the river of his imagination. The wall had been broken, and the floodgates were open. JJ glanced at the writer and nodded approvingly. Looks like someone found their muse. The writer looked up and smiled. Sometimes you have to go through hell to get to heaven. Just as JJ was about to signal the start of the episode, the studio door burst open, and in walked a figure so surreal it could have been conjured from the depths of a Hunter S. Thompson fever dream. It was their mystery guest, dressed in a tuxedo adorned with LED lights, a top hat that seemed to defy gravity, and shoes that left a trail of smoke with each step. Am I late for the party? The guest announced, his voice a blend of gravel and silk. JJ was momentarily speechless, a rare occurrence. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Mr. Enigma, the man who claims to have traveled through time and space. As Mr. Enigma took his seat, the atmosphere in the studio shifted, as if reality itself had bent to accommodate this stranger from another dimension. and so, with the push of a button, they were live, diving headfirst into the fringe of reality, exploring topics that danced on the edge of science and superstition. It was a roller coaster of an episode, a journey through the looking glass and into the unknown. As the episode concluded, JJ felt a sense of exhilaration, a high that no drug could replicate. This was why he did it, why they all did it, to push the boundaries, to question the status quo, to venture where few dared to go. Chapter 127, The Aftermath and the Prelude, Part 21. The studio lights dimmed, the microphones went silent, and the digital clock on the wall froze at the exact second the episode ended. J.J. Berman removed his headphones and leaned back in his chair, letting out a sigh that was equal parts exhaustion and satisfaction. "Wow, that was something else," Sarah said, her eyes still wide from the whirlwind conversation with Mr. Enigma. "I mean, time travel, parallel universes, and quantum entanglement all in one episode? We're either geniuses or completely insane." "Or both," Mark chimed in, shutting down the soundboard. "That's usually how it goes in this business." JJ looked over at the writer, who was still engrossed in his work, typing away as if possessed by some literary demon. "Hey, you planning on joining the land of the living anytime soon?" The writer paused, looked up, and grinned. "I'm almost there, just wrapping up the final paragraph. This one's going to be a masterpiece, or a disaster. There's a fine line between the two, you know." JJ chuckled. "That's the spirit. Keep that up, and you'll fit right in." Just then, Sarah's phone buzzed with a notification. She glanced at the screen and her eyes widened. "Guys, you won't believe this. We just got an email from a major network. They want to syndicate the world of Jobin." The room fell silent for a moment, each person absorbing the weight of the news. Then, as if on cue, they all erupted into cheers, high fives, and even a group hug. It was a milestone, a validation of their collective madness. But amid the celebration, JJ felt a twinge of apprehension. Success was a double-edged sword, bringing with it new challenges, new expectations, and the ever-present danger of selling out. The road ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear: they had crossed a threshold, and there was no turning back. As the team dispersed,